Hi, AP students. I'm just going to talk you through your assignment for this long holiday weekend. Well, not holiday weekend, but long weekend for you. Um, so you're going to have a reading assignment that's going to start the next unit. And then obviously you have your moot court stuff as well. But then in addition to that, you're going to start to analyze our poll. And when you go into Google Classroom, you're going to see something like this. It'll say simple poll analysis. This actually happens to be from the regular government class because I haven't built yours yet. But then you see the 2025 poll here, and you see government poll analysis, okay? And here's the poll that we built. You can see it. We have 53 records. You can scroll through and see them here. And obviously every poll response, I'm circling it here, is a person that sent the poll back to us, and then here's their answers. You guys should know that from when you guys actually compiled the results and then edited the results. It was kind of messy yesterday, yesterday being Monday, but we did it. So, and then every question goes down here. So now that we have this poll, here's your poll. Analysis worksheet. This is where we, start to process the data. We start to just hypothesize to, or we want to compile the results. We want the results to mean something. Obviously, for each one of those records, it was an individual. An individual who has political beliefs. Again, sometimes those political beliefs don't make sense to us, but we respect the fact that they are what the people who hold them believe. Sometimes what the people believe is kind of like not correct. In other words, they'll say they're a liberal and then they give conservative answers, or they'll say they're conservative and they give liberal answers. And we'll talk through that later. Anyway, we're going to go through for the first part of this, and for every question, we're going to compile the results. And so you can see here on this, it says poll of Granville residents, simple percentages. By the way, for this first part, part one, everything is going to be out of 53. Okay, and we're going to go through for each question. And we are going to find out what kind of answers people gave, and then change it into a percentage. Okay, and this is how we do it. We come back to this, and I put on a filter, which means all of these records here can be sorted. And the first question here is a Trump approval rating. And this is where we gave the people a choice, a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being they really don't like President Trump, to 10, they really, really like him. What I did is, rather than analyzing each number by itself, I grouped them into three groups. One, if people gave him a 1, 2, or a 3, that's generally speaking, they don't like him. They don't care for him as president. If they give him an 8, 9, 10, they really like him. And then the 4, 5, 6, 7 is somewhere in between. But then this is how we run our sorts. So we're going to go to Trump approval. We hit on this little upside down triangle with little lines. And then you can see down here, it lists all the answers. Okay. And so here we see 1, 2, 3, and all the way to 10, and so on. And you can see they're all checked. But I want to clear them all because I don't want to select any. But then I want to choose 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And after I do that, I click OK. And then what happens is it has selected out all those records. Okay. And you can see the poll respondent numbers here are no longer complete. They're no longer 1 through 53. In other words, some of them are missing because they've been selected out. Okay, and it's because they're only selecting the people who gave them 1, 2, or 3s. In fact, you can kind of go through the list and double check that. Okay, and what you could then do is go through and count them. Okay, by the way, with 53 surveys, it wouldn't take you long to do that. However, if you go down here, you can see how many rows are displayed. So 29 out of 53. Okay, and So you now know 29 of the people out of 53 gave Trump a 1, 2, or 3. Okay? And that's when you go to this and you would type in your fraction. So 29 out of 53 gave Trump a 1, 2, or 3. By the way, at this point, you also start to make decisions, or not decisions. I shouldn't say that. You start to hypothesize. You start to say, "Wow, that's more than I expected," or "That's less than I expected." And I'll just do that process with you here, and maybe you can track with what I'm thinking or not. That number surprised me. 29 out of 53. That's more than half of the people of Granville gave President Trump a really low rating. Okay. And now here's all the ways that I could explain that. For one, it surprised me because Granville's a pretty conservative town, and it's a pretty Republican town. A lot of people voted for President Trump by far. Like the last election, like 58% of Granville voted for him. Then why did more than half then give him a really low rating? And this is where we guess. We don't know, but it could be that our survey was biased, that somehow the way the question was asked, it led people who like Trump to rate him low. I'm not sure that's it. It could also be that the people who responded don't like Trump. In other words, the people who tended to get the envelopes would be like the kind of people who didn't like him. That may or may not be true. I'm not sure. It could also be that Granville, a fairly conservative community, also a traditional community, which means that there's a lot of Republicans here who really like President Trump's policies, so they vote for him. But they really don't like him as a person. In fact, one person on their record said something like, President Trump as a president, and then I think it gave him a fairly high mark. So it could be a lot of people are like, I don't really care for the guy, but I will vote for him because I like him way more than the Democrats. Don't know, but that is a fairly high fraction. But you understood my kind of as I'm dealing with the data, I'm kind of hypothesizing, and I'm guessing why this number is so high. Okay, but then I can go back here, and now that I'm done with that, I can hit on my sort. I want to clear them all, and this time I want to choose the 4, 5, 6, and 7. Nobody gave him a 4 or 5, so I can only choose 6 and 7s. And I click that, and there are only 4. Okay? And so then I go back here and I type 4 out of 53. By the way, you then have to calculate the percentage. Okay? And hopefully you guys know how to do that. Okay, and then I go to the last one. I click on the sort function again. I unclick 6 and 7. I hit OK. I then go back here to click, and I choose 8, 9, 10. Okay, and that's where, if I go down here, I can see that 20 out of 53 like him. And again, this also is helpful. So then I go back here, and I put 20 out of 53. And again, President Trump, we'll learn this a little bit later, or we probably already know it. People either love him or hate him. He's definitely a provocative figure. In fact, he enjoys, I think, making people hate him. He also enjoys the adoration of people who like him. And so this is not surprising in my opinion as well. But then I'd calculate the percentages, and then I also would figure out not sure. Okay. But anyway, you are going to do this for all of these questions. Now, that's quite daunting, perhaps. And this is where I'm going to allow you to share. Okay, there's certain times where in this class, I do not want you to cheat. And for this assignment, I want everyone to do a couple of these because you have to learn how to run the sorts and feel comfortable with the spreadsheet. But you can certainly pull data, have other people run data, and then share out the data. Okay, but the key is you have to work with some of the questions, because when we get to the next levels, if you just copy the whole assignment, you're not going to know how to run the database well. Okay, and then you're going to make mistakes when you write your report, and then you're going to get marked down. So make sure that you're doing some of the questions, but job share potentially out the others. For some of you, it's a long weekend. I actually like dealing with this kind of data. I find it energizing. And you go ahead and do the whole assignment. It actually help you engage it well. Okay. Now, another thing I really want to emphasize is that when you're done with a question, so you're done with this first question here, and then you go on to this next question and you start to deal with it, the first thing you absolutely have to do is you have to notice that there's already a sort on. See how this upside down triangle now has a little filter on it? You have to undo that, and you have to undo it by selecting all 8 of the answers and hitting OK, so it resets. Okay, so you need it to reset, and then you're going to go on to the next question, release the Epstein files. And that's where you say, well, how many people said yes to releasing the Epstein files? And then, again, you're going to go here, you're going to clear all of them and hit yes and hit OK. And you can see almost everybody wants the Epstein files released. That's, again, quite interesting. But then you would go here, and for yes, you type in your number and your percentage. Again, as you do this, you say, what don't I know about this, or what do I expect about this? You have to engage it with a curious mind, okay? And anyway, you're going to do that for all of the simple percentages, okay? Including the demographics, okay? Near the end, I just asked, did any of the answers to any of these questions surprise you, and why? And then the second question, we need to constantly be asking, what are some weaknesses of our poll? We have to be honest with how our poll was okay and how it is not so great, okay? Because that will help our analysis in our reports as well. So for the weekend, you have to do this. I will check it on a Tuesday morning to make sure you did it. You will get an easy grade if it's filled out. If you are behind, you're going to get marked down. So please do it. Some of you are getting kind of sloppy on not doing daily work. It's going to show up as your grade starts to go down because you're not keeping up with the readings and you're not keeping up with assignments that you can easily do. So anyway, I hope this little video is helpful for you. Thanks.